Guys, sometimes obviously when we're looking around on the internet, you come across things and you think, well, I haven't tried one of them. Now, I was looking for an ARRMA Fireteam, and yeah, when I placed the order, it turns out they're discontinued. And unfortunately, it is what it is. But I was then thinking, well, hang on a sec. The ARRMA Fireteam and the Big Rock are very much like each other. We've had a Big Rock before. I thoroughly enjoyed that truck. So a late night purchase and me sitting down and regretting my choices the next morning. We've ended up with another Big Rock, guys. Come on, let's take a look. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to ChriswithaC. Hope you are doing well. Thank you very much for joining me today. Right, as I mentioned at the start of the video, recently I was obviously looking for a new 6S ARRMA. Now, as you know, I've done loads of work on 6S ARRMAs here on the channel. One of my favourite trucks to date is still the Mojave 6S. I absolutely love the platform. Know it inside out and spent a lot of time upgrading them. Now, I was looking at another long wheelbase ARRMA. Okay, and I realised that I hadn't tried the Fireteam. Now, a couple of friends of mine have actually got them, but I've never actually got around to actually purchasing one. So I did a scour around the internet and I was checking over things, and I thought, right, I found one. I found one in the UK. Right, this will make a good video. The last one in the UK. Let's go ahead and order it and get it, you know, obviously sent you ASAP. Well, time went by. A couple of days, and I've noticed there was no confirmation or anything like that sent about the truck, and I was like, well, this seems a little bit strange, you know, why hasn't it have a confirmation? Well, it turns out that they'd been discontinued and there was a website error. I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but thank you obviously for helping me. They'll understand if they're watching the videos. So I was like, well, okay, I'll have to ring them. Give them a ring. And they were like, look, I'm awfully sorry, website error. We can either refund you your money or what would you like to do? And I was like, well, I'd like to get another truck. The only other one I can think of is the Big Rock. The Big Rock 6S is same platform, shares loads of the parts. Obviously, it's based on the Mojave platform as well. I know I've had that truck. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Last time I purchased it, it was from a friend. It was a second-hand purchase. We did the deal. Thoroughly enjoyed upgrading it, doing everything. I was like, right, I need another 6S ARRMA. So, said to them, right, can you organise a Big Rock for me? And they were like, oh, right, the price difference is X, Y, Z. But as you've had a problem, we'll make sure you're looked after and we'll allow you to have it the same price what the Fireteam is. Well, it was a no-brainer, guys. And what you're seeing is we've got the gunmetal version of the ARRMA the ARRMA 6S Big Rock, I should say. Love these. Version 2 electronics, obviously the murdered outlook. Very, very sort of capable truck for the sort of ground bashing that I do, and I want to do the unboxing, get the truck out. I've got a few little upgrades I want to chuck into the car straight away because obviously I know the platform like the back of my hand, and I hope you guys enjoy the video because you'll see a lot more of this. This was as I mentioned, it was a late Friday night purchase. I was like, I want another truck, therefore let's go and have a little look, and yeah, we've ended up with this one, so I'm really happy. You know, I'm not gonna lie. And when I look back at the videos, there will be a playlist, guys. In fact, I'll put it in the eye above for you. There's a playlist to, I had a white version of this. We went through Vitavan upgrades, chassis upgrades, taking it out, using it. And I went through a process of selling that truck at the time. To go ahead, if you remember, I actually sold it to buy what I call Big Red, which was a ARRMA Outcast 8S, but it was obviously just a normal. So yeah, we got one. Let's slide down on the table. We'll get this unboxed. Bit of a long story for you. I hope you enjoyed obviously the kind of backstory behind it. Let's take a look. Let's get it out of the box. Let's see what it comes with, and I'll give you my thoughts and plans straight away. Come on then. Right guys, okay, so the ARRMA Big Rock 6S, 1/7 scale RTR monster truck, based off obviously the Mojave and the Fireteam platform. As you know, I've had one of these on the channel, absolutely adored it. I've gone for, as you can see, I've gone for the gunmetal colour. All right, so this time around, obviously, I've gone for the different colour. This is the colour I initially wanted. And when I had the truck before, obviously bought it second hand. So this is a brand new purchase for myself. And yeah, very excited. 65 mile an hour is what they're saying with the included speed pinion. To be honest with you, with ARRMA, I very much trust their speed ratings. I've never really been kind of swayed different. The performance of these trucks is absolutely awesome. They are obviously full metal chassis. You've got obviously separate differentials around the car, front, rear and centre. They're using the new version 2 murdered out ESC and obviously motor, and they've upgraded the servo to the Spectrum S665. It will come with the SLT3 as well handset, which is their standard handset that they put in there. There's no DX3 in this one, but that's fine because, to be honest with you, me personally, I'm going to be swapping it out for my radio link anyway. I will be doing a few cheeky little things with this truck as well, and I'll show you in a moment. So yeah, Big Rock crew cab, hugely successful, and it's weird because ARRMA have just discontinued this, and I'm quite surprised because it hasn't really been out for that long. So they're either in the process of updating the Fireteam, the Big Rock, or, you know, and giving them the version 6 platform. This essentially was the last of the V5s. And do you know what? Actually, to be quite honest with you, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. As you know, I've got a kind of a little bit of an affinity for the version 5 trucks. I've done loads of work, whether it be Notorious. I've obviously got the Mojave, which is one of my favourite trucks down in the corner by here. Right, let's just, as you can see on the side of the box here, let's just move the box up, like so. In there, you get your SLT3, your SR15 receiver, which is obviously on the Spectrum protocol. You've got the S665 servo. These are magical little beasts. Honestly, I've never really had a problem with these, and so much so, I've actually gone around parts resellers on eBay and also Facebook and stuff like that, and bought up a load of these because I fitted them to a bunch of my other cars and trucks. 150 amp Spectrum ESC. Obviously you've got the version 2, which is fully firmware upgradable, and there are loads of updates for these currently available as well, which will give you the same speed ratings as what the version 6 is now, because they have updated it all. 40, 74, 20, 50 kV motor. Now again, these were a replacement for the aging now BLX motors, but honestly, I know loads of people still run them, and they're absolutely awesome. You also get the typical ARRMA 6S heatsink, and these are actually pretty good. They do take the heat away. I've never really had a problem, and it gives you easy access for mounting separate fans. They do come with a I believe on you is a 30mm fan, so you know, easy to get fans for. I normally fit them with a rocket fan. On the back, you also get a little bit of artwork, obviously for the truck, as you can see, just a couple of little bits and bobs there. And then on the side, let's just flip it around. It is heavy truck, this one. There you go. So obviously you've got the 3 different colours. Now previously I had the white and black. We have gone for the gunmetal. But I also like the red, to be honest with you. I like all 3 of the colours. You know, it's quite unusual for me because I normally look at sort of a range of vehicles, and there's normally one in there that I'm like, I don't like that one. But in this case, ARRMA did a great job of colour matching the vehicles. I think a lot of people went for the white, obviously, because you don't see many white RCs, RCRs, white, pure white. But the red kind of stands out, and I like the kind of murdered out look of the grey. Right, let's get the box open, shall we? So this is the bit you kind of all been waiting for. As I say, this is a personal purchase. It's not sponsored by anyone. This is something that I've wanted, and to be honest with you, after sitting here mulling over what I was wanting for a long time, I was quite happy to end up with one of these. Let me just move this stand out of the way. There you go, that's better. Right, let's get the lid off. Okay. Any information on the side of the box I need to tell you about? Nope, everything is fine there. Okay, inside you get this required to assemble guide. What ARRMA does with the bigger trucks is obviously they take the wheels off, obviously, and then tell you to fit them. Again, just make sure before you're using them, you recheck your nuts. Obviously, when you put them on the car, make sure you're putting the serrated edge down on the wheel and not using the other side. And they also give these little QR code kind of, as you can see, and that is for your support and your showcasing the vehicle. No problems at all there. Everything's fine. I've got a bunch of these, and whenever I need to go and find information, I just scan the QR code and off I go to the ARRMA website. Really, really handy, very decent. In the box, you get, now, if you know about the Big Rock, guys, ARRMA actually updated the wheels on the 6S truck to the Ragnaroks. Now, the Ragnaroks were on the 3S car. I ran them for a long time. A lot of people don't like them. Me personally, I quite like them because what they actually do is will give you a little bit of slip in the corners. Now, as you know, I do like kind of sliding my trucks around. So for me personally, the Ragnaroks actually work very, very well. I have noticed some people will swap them over for 6S backflips, but I think you kind of take away what the truck is at that point. This is it can jump, but essentially for me, this is a ground basher's dream really when it comes to the 6S trucks. This, the Fireteam, the Mojave, I love that kind of scale sliding around on the floor, and just enjoying the articulation of the suspension and the way the truck is sort of moving about. I'll go into the instructions and everything in a moment. Let's get the truck out the box, shall we? And I'll be honest with you, this has been quite hard to sit on this one. It's been here for a couple of days. I've been wanting to get out of the box. So today is that day. Now, I was hoping to do the unboxing outside, but unfortunately, the Welsh weather here at the moment is kind of hindering us. Every time I go to go outside, it then starts raining again. These big, huge zip ties, which I can never get undone. Now, the good thing is about the ARRMA trucks, guys, is very well supported all over the world. You can get parts for them all over, and many different models you can kind of swap and change. There's a very, very big aftermarket support for these. Obviously I work with companies like M2C and Vitavon, kind of the main ones really for the 6S ARRMAs. M2C, I mean, would mainly be my kind of preferred choice, but I have worked with Vitavon in the past on the 6S ARRMAs. If I can get this open, I'm going to pause 2 seconds. Right, okay, so managed to get the truck out of the box, guys. Honestly, the zip ties that hold the truck down, my God, they're thick. Right, the bit a lot of people have been waiting for. There you go. Satisfactory peel, I hope. And as I say, I've gone for this matte looking gunmetal colour, and yeah, very much like the scale look of these trucks. Typical Big Rock front end on it. Obviously you got the lighting section, Big Rock written across the grille, huge bumper. And then the good thing is about these trucks, guys, is especially on these ones, is they have some pretty scale looking parts on them as well, where obviously the top of the roof liner there, the bulkhead, you've got the kind of air vent in the front, and then at the back, let's just move these wheels out the way. I'll go into the wheels in a moment. At the back then, you've got the cab area, obviously with this faux kind of hook, obviously for a trailer. There are only 2 body clips on this vehicle to actually open it up, and it's got like a tongue and groove system, which I'll go into in a moment. Big lighting section at the back of the rear here. Very nice Big Rock on the bumper, huge skids. So the arms and everything are from a Creighton, obviously the Creighton 6S. So it shares parts with the Mojave, the Fireteam, and the Creighton, I believe. Obviously to get the suspension geometry out of the vehicle. Big roll bar going across the top there, as you can see. Absolutely massive. There are spaces in there, I found out later on, where you can actually, if you wanted to, actually fit some lights in the top as well. But I don't think, the way I roll vehicles over, I don't think that's a good idea at all, to be honest with you. There's the side profile of the truck. Obviously you've got the side guards just like you would on a double cab. It looks very much like an F250 truck, this one. Obviously your faux door handles, and then Big Rock written down the side, as you can see there. Very nice looking. The good thing is, as I mentioned with these ARRMAs, is the aftermarket support. There's tons and tons of aftermarket support. So whether your budget dictates, you know, you shop on AliExpress, or if you want to go to the kind of the best of the best, like M2C and Vitavon, and it's completely up to the way you build these trucks, or whether you just want to leave them stock, because obviously you can go to pretty much any hobby shop and pick up parts for these, whether it be differential gears or, I don't know, maybe an arm or something like that. There's tons and tons of aftermarket support. And that was one of my key things with buying another one of these trucks, is the sort of ease of repairing one of these vehicles. Is just the fact that you can go pretty much anywhere and you start building a truck the way you want. And as you know, that's something I do a lot of here on the channel. Right, Ragnarok wheels, bouncing onto those. These are a direct copy, I should say, of the 3S pattern on the wheels. And as I say, I quite like them. They do offer plenty of grip on forward motion, and then when you get to a corner, allow a lot of slide as well. Very nice looking wheel, very kind of sort of 3S-esque, but the difference is with these is they're a little bit harder on the sidewalls, and obviously they don't expand as much. Did take me a little bit of time actually to break these in, but typical D-boots, very sturdy tyres. The only ones I particularly don't like in the D-boots range, me personally, from what I've tried, is the 4S backflips. They're terrible, but yeah, never really had a problem with the Ragnaroks. Very nice wheels. Obviously ARRMA gets you to install them, so we will be installing those on a vehicle in a moment. Let's just get the other ones. Now, as I say, full 6S platform. You've got obviously the 4070 motor, 2050 kV. Now, I particularly never really had a problem with them. Other than sometimes I used to like to try and get a little bit more power, but I know loads of people who still use the 4070 motors, and they just work. They just work. ARRMA and Spectrum have done an absolutely cracking job on the power package on these, and as I say, I still love the ESC that comes in this truck. Now, to get the body off the truck, you've got the two body pins at the back, which I'll show you in a moment, like so. Just pop those open there, and then what you do is lift up the back end and then slide it forward. Huge kind of cage inside the car, so let's just go over the cage inside the car first. Got a cage system right the way through the vehicle there. Obviously you've got the big side guards, and then obviously the support that reaches down to your chassis. Obviously that will support the roof should you land on the roof, but yeah, they really kind of went overboard with the support on this. As you can see, the huge front section there that supports the front if on any heavy impacts. You've got the groove system here at the front that clips over your shock towers and the internal cage. The only thing I will say is they are a two-piece design, these trucks. So if you can see there, they're actually split into two. So you've got nuts and bolts there. Just check them over, guys. Make sure they're nice and tight. Shoe glue in a body, one of these is a little bit of a pig of a job, to be honest with you. As you know, I normally shoe glue and scrim tape all my bodies, but I might go down that route, or I might just go along with Gorilla Tape, and it's something I'd suggest you doing if you want to kind of get some sort of longevity out of your vehicle. You've got the typical "don't just blast" and written underneath. That's kind of like ARRMA's little Easter egg inside there. They put them on every single vehicle. But yeah, really nice looking body, those. You know, if you have to kind of, there are a few bodies in the ARRMA range, and I think ARRMA do a cracking job of actually, you know, coming up with a really nice looking body. The only one I'm not particularly fond of is the Felony, but loads of people out there might actually like it. But yeah, the Felony for me is a bit of a pig to look at, to be honest with you. I'd much rather an Infraction over a Felony, but there you go. That's, you know, I digress. So that is the body. Right, moving on to the truck. Let's go. Okay. So inside, guys, obviously you've got your Spectrum S665. Obviously these are really good little servos. They're only rated for 20 kilograms, but to be quite honest with you, I've never really had a problem. The response times on these are actually 0.1, which is quite low for an RTR. Obviously the response time, meaning it's how quick you can actually translating from the control of you steering the steering wheel to actually how quick the servo will respond. And again, probably when it comes down to electronics, I will say this, and probably Team Corrali, probably the in my opinion, the best in the 6S trucks. But I will say there's a lot, you know, should you have an ESC go down, yes, the Spectrum stuff essentially is a little bit more expensive, but again, there's lots of parts breakers out there will actually sell you one of these quite cheaply. 150 amp BSC, firmware upgradable. You've got your typical settings like your BEC values, low voltage cutoff, loads of updates, and ARRMA quite regularly updates the firmware on these. And the reason why that is a good thing, all right, is if you can imagine, just like your phone receives updates, and as time goes by, essentially Spectrum / ARRMA, should we call it, will update it, giving you a more updated firmware on there, e.g. so it could be better battery life, more power, you know, fine-tuning the way the vehicle, because when these first came out, they actually came with a firmware, and a lot of people were finding as they got into the air or did a jump, the car was dying and then dive into the floor. But the good thing is obviously using the likes of one of these Spectrum program cards, that's the version 2, you can plug that into a laptop, change all the values, update your firmware, and yeah, it just keeps it's nice sort of ease of life kind of thing. You just keep checking for the firmware updates, and yeah, they're pretty good. As I mentioned, you then inside the car there, you've got your 4074 motor, 2050 kV, plenty of power, plenty of torque. They don't get too hot either, you know, that's another good thing. Out of the box here, this truck comes with a 13-tooth pinion, and I believe you actually get a 15-tooth with the truck as speed gearing. Let me just check. Yeah, I think it's a 15-tooth. The only thing I will say, and if you're buying one of the version 5s or the last of the version 5s, guys, the battery tray on these are okay. They're not too bad. But if you want to give yourself a little bit of an upgrade that doesn't cost too much, have a look at a parts break or even ARRMA. The version 6 battery tray is much better, and I will be buying one of those for this, which essentially the version 6 battery tray, you've got holes in the bottom that allow all the debris to come out. Big huge side guards on the truck. Obviously that is going to stop debris coming in, as you can see there, right down the side of the vehicle. Adjustable turnbuckles on the rear, obviously for your camber. As I mentioned, you've got the big thick Creighton arms installed on the vehicle. Some people love them, some people hate them. Me personally, I never really had too much problem with the Creighton arms at all. 4mm chassis, 3mm chassis, I believe. It's only 6061. Something I did notice with this truck previously, unfortunately, the chassis, they don't always last as well as you would hope to. Now, I will say, on my Mojave, it took a lot of abuse for me to actually wreck one of those. I did end up replacing it, but that was after sending it to the moon. So if you are going to jump one of these, possibly think about at some point changing over your chassis. Not straight away, not until you develop a problem, but you know, change it over to something like a 7075. There's loads of aftermarket support with those. You've got ADU, M2C, GPM even sell one. You've got Vitavon, you know, there's loads of good companies out there who will make good chassis for these vehicles. As again, aftermarket support for these are absolutely amazing. Big top brace going from tower to tower. Obviously composite chassis braces, that's another thing I do tend to upgrade at some point. differentials in your front and rear, and obviously a tunable centre diff as well. Now, on this, guys, as it being one of the last version 5s, something to note this year is these come with what they call GD4 diffs, which is essentially an EXB diff. Now, on the front and rear of the vehicle, they are open, all right? So, but on the centre, you will have the EXB differential in there, which is a plate system. I'll see if I can show you the plates quickly. I think I've got some over here. Yeah, I have. Bear with me. And this is essentially like limited slip differential, so you can fine-tune. There you go. And that's without opening instructions. So you can fine-tune the way the differential performs. Me personally, all I tend to do is just leave it as it is and just use stock fluids. Now, don't go thinking you can kind of top it up. 500k in a EXB diff. 100k CST will be identical to 500k. You know, that's a... you're basically using mechanical instead of fluid to tune that diff, and then use a lot less fluid in there. Anyway, a little bit of techie information there for some of you guys. Me personally, I'm quite honest. If I'm to be quite honest, I actually prefer just a standard differential. The EXB diff for me, it can be a bit of a pain in the backside from time to time. Huge shocks, obviously on the front and rear of the vehicle. Again, never really had a problem with these. You can get, I think M2C do the zero rebound shock kit for these, which really improves the suspension. I fitted it on the Mojave, so I can't see any reason why you couldn't get it for this. Receiver, obviously, in there, as I mentioned, you've got this SR15 from Spectrum. Now, let's move on to the underneath of the chassis there. Huge skids on the front. Again, I've never really had a problem with the Big Rock ones. On the earlier versions of this chassis, e.g. the Mojave, these, unfortunately, I have had some problems where the screws get stuck in the skids. Big, huge bumper on there as well. You've got your Creighton hubs, obviously pillow ball system, as you can see there. Now, I'm going to give you a little tip here. If we're going to talk about cheap upgrades, all right, something that you might think about doing further down the line, ARRMA have just updated these hubs to a completely different design. One of my main bugbears with all 6S ARRMAs, and I mean every 6S ARRMA up until the version 6 is, were these bearings at the back of the hub there. Okay, so just showing you there, all right. The bearing, obviously you've got your stub axle comes through there, and obviously this bearing then carries the stub axle. You've got a smaller one at the front and this really thin one at the back end by here. These are, unless you keep them lubricated with, I don't know, after you've been out bashing and given it a wash, GT85, they have a nasty habit of seizing up. So the amount of times I've gone, well, the truck's not working properly, and looked at the bearing at the back here, and that's actually seized. CVDs, obviously in the front, obviously that is for linking onto your dog bone, which goes then to your differential, and then on the back you've got standard dog bones. That's a lot of information. I hope obviously some of you guys haven't blown your mind with just going right the way through it. Like I say, I've had a lot of experience with this. When you're setting this truck up, all right, and I probably won't do this on the channel because I've got loads of videos. I will put a link in the eye above now. In fact, I'll put a link in the eye above to setting this truck up on my previous Big Rock, okay? But make sure you're setting your droop, all right? So that is definitely one thing. And on the front as well, because they have a nasty habit of spitting CVDs out at the front, unfortunately. Again, just through extended use of these trucks, something I found out. So I will put a link in the eye above, a few little tips and tricks in there for you to kind of pick up on. Let's just go into what you get in the instructions and everything first of all. Now, a lot of you guys will recognize this handset. It's just like most ARRMAs. That's the SLT3. Good thing about these is obviously you do have your steering rate, your throttle, obviously adjustment, steering trim, throttle trim. And then obviously your AB buttons, which you can use for setting your endpoint. And on the back then, your 50, 75 and 100 throttle limiter. This is pretty good if you are going to hand the truck to someone who's a little bit less experienced, or someone who, if you're new to like one of these 6S ARRMAs, you can actually limit the throttle and kind of get used to using the vehicle. You've got your throttle reverse, steering reverse, and then obviously your on-off switch. It does take 4 AA batteries. You can't fit the LiPo in these. I won't actually be using this myself personally. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Never had a problem with the SLT3. But as I say, I do use my Radio Link handsets. In the instructions, ARRMA does this very, very well. Very well. There you go. Let me just get this out, 2 secs. Very well illustrated instruction manual, giving all your kind of settings, your ESC, obviously all the part numbers. You get a big exploded view in there. Any information you're going to need, whether it be differentials or what screws to use, ARRMA have got you covered. I've never, ever, ever had a problem with the ARRMA instruction manual. It's always well presented, very well illustrated, and obviously all the writing inside the manual is always correct as well. So yeah, kudos to them, because there's a few manufacturers out there you could probably learn from, the likes of ARRMA and a few others. But yeah, all in several different languages, so that's that. You obviously get your sticker sheet. Everyone loves stickers. And then, as I mentioned, you got your speed gearing. Now, there's some people out there that will run this speed gearing as they bash. Me personally, what I like to do is I go up in increments. ARRMA have essentially given you that to run on pavement for short periods of time, because if you kind of bash with this in longer grass or something, you might run into heat issues. Differential shims, obviously just check your diffs. Again, that'll all be in the setup guide. You can go ahead and have a look at that if you want to. Your typical tools, obviously you got your wheel wrench there, 7mm, 10mm and 8mm, and then your T-key, a few other bits and bobs. Again, invest yourself in a good quality set of hex drivers if you're going to work on these vehicles. You don't want to strip these screws and nuts out of the hardware out of the vehicle, because you run into a world of problems. The wheel wrench is pretty good. I use that most of the time. And to be honest with you, it was funny because ARRMA still use the ones where you can actually fit glow plugs to. So yeah, if you're a nitro guy, you'll understand what that means. There's your limited slip plates, as I mentioned, for the center differential. Several different options for tuning your shocks. You got your shock pistons. So yeah, if you want to kind of tune your shocks, you can go ahead and do that to your heart's content. 4 AA batteries, and then just your warranty guide. I'm going to pause here 2 seconds. I'm going to put the wheels back on the vehicle and then put the body on, and then we'll go from there. Right, okay, so as you can see, guys, we've got the truck on all 4 wheels. Yeah, I really love the look of these. I have definitely missed a Big Rock. I've already made one little upgrade. As you can see, I've now fitted my M2C wheel nuts. So I like these because they kind of stop all the rubbish. Number one, on Big Rock wheels are quite deeply set. So obviously it stops all the crap and everything getting inside there. And inside there is a little hex screw. So obviously with the closed wheel nuts, stops all the rubbish getting inside there. So if you can do it, get them. They're very good. And I've never really had a wheel come off with a M2C wheel nut. Body system, I absolutely adore. Very easy to get on and off. So as I mentioned, you've got the tongue there, obviously. This clips in here. And all you do is literally slide it onto the truck and then push down. And that is it. You're on. Okay, obviously do the 2 body clips up at the back there. They go in like so. One there. And then one there. Actually, there you go. I'm making a right pig's ear. This is mainly because I got arthritis in my hands and it's killing me today because we have got some colder, wet weather as well. That's not helping. But yeah, they actually go in. Right, let's do this with 2 hands rather than trying to hold the truck. Now, little tip for you. If you thinking about, there you go, as you can see, he's in now. But yeah, that actually acts like a carry handle, that roof support here as well. Little tip for you. What you can do is just basically put some zip ties around the hooks on these and just use them as pulls. I actually do that on all my trucks. Now, I am going to be upgrading a few things straight off the bat with this. I've actually got this Savox SB2292SG monster servo that I've taken out of another vehicle. I'm going to put this back in because I think in this it'll actually really help. It's fast response time, expensive servo, but as I say, I'm kind of recirculating it out of another vehicle. And I also want to say a huge thank you to one of my subscribers for sending me over. As you can see, guys, what we have got is the lighting kit for this truck. So I'm going to be fitting that into the vehicle when we do the first setup. Now, the funny thing is, let's talk about setup. I'm not going to do it on camera, as I mentioned, but I will talk you through quickly. Just to kind of go over it. The stock fluids on these, okay, is 10k at the front, 10k at the rear, and 100k. I've never needed on a 6S ARRMA to go further than stock. Now, you can tune them, I know, I understand. But me personally, I'm probably just going to open them up, check everything is shimmed properly. And I'm also going to make sure that the ESC is updated. And just go through every single screw, nut, bolt, check everything is fine. And just make sure that I've gone over with my eyes, not normally having a problem quality control with ARRMA, but still it's always worth checking over. But I'm very happy to have another one of these, honestly, and you will see a lot more of this on the channel and me blasting around with it in some dirt. This is definitely my style of truck. So as I say, I'm going to be doing a live stream this week. I've decided. You might not have seen the video up until the live stream, but the reason being is because I am having some technical issues with my laptop at the moment for my editing rig, and I'm waiting for my new one to come back. As time goes by, I probably will do a few little upgrades to this truck just to kind of get it how I want to, but I want to kind of drive it and just enjoy it for a little bit, and take it out, bash it, enjoy it, and just get a fair amount of fun out of the vehicle before I start chucking money into, because I will upgrade these. I upgrade every single ARRMA, but yeah, honestly, epic truck. It's absolutely awesome. What I'm going to do now is some arty-farty shots. I'm just going to quickly talk over a few things, and yeah, I'll see you up top. Right, okay, so as you can see, guys, inside the car, this is the Spectrum S665 servo. As I mentioned, 20 kilograms, really magical little beasts, absolutely epic. One of the best RTR servos out there at the moment, in my opinion. Never ever had a problem with these, and yeah, just held up to a test of time. I think I've got one in this truck here. Let's have a look. There's one in my Techno. There's definitely one in the Notorious down the bottom, but there. One in the Creighton, and I think I've got one in my Habao as well. But yeah, I've replaced a bunch of them with this, but only because they work. Right, okay. The Spectrum Firma version 2, the Murdered Out, as I mentioned. There's a quick look for you. And then obviously the centre diff. Now the only thing I will say with the Big Rock, unfortunately, I was hoping they were going to do a metal diff case in this truck, but so I probably will replace that at some point for the centre. But again, remember, this is what they call GD4 differentials, okay? So you are going to need to get the EXB differential case. Don't go try ordering I believe it's 32. So these are the 29mm, and the standard ones are 32mm. That is the motor we were talking about, the Spectrum Firma 2050 kV, 4274 motor, 30mm fan on top. ARRMA do a good job of obviously cable management as well. Obviously you can see down there these little clips. Everything's quite modular with these trucks. You know, you can kind of take the rear section off to work on, you know, put that back on a vehicle, take a center section out and then put that back on, then work on the front. You know, very, very clever, time tested, and I've never particularly had many issues, apart from I did in the early days have a few problems with differentials. I recently had a problem with the differential on the Mojave, but that was just my issue because I managed to send that one to the moon. Since then, redoing it and adding all the upgrades on that one's been absolutely perfect. Servo saver, unfortunately this is the V5. Ideally I would have liked to have a V6 servo saver for it, because there's like a double spring system, like a helix coil, on the version 6, which actually work really, really well. And these from the Creighton EXB version 2 upwards is that when they actually fitted that. So I might possibly go ahead and find a upgraded bell crank and servo saver. We'll have to see. Jury's out on that one. Shock towers, as you mentioned, these are the standard 60-61. Now I will say, out of every single ARRMA I've got, these towers are, they're not great. They're, look, being straight with you, they're like chocolate, they bend. So if you can, maybe look around. Even ADU these days make absolutely awesome. And I think on my last Big Rock, I actually fitted ADU towers on the front and rear. And I think it cost me a grand total of, I'm sure it was £35 for the both. But loving the wheels, Ragnaroks, never had an issue with these. Plenty of grip in the right places, and obviously when you get a corner, you want to slide the vehicle out, they still allow you to slide, and for me, you know, that's awesome. Chassis on the bottom, again, 60-61, as I say, can be a problematic part to these longer chassis. What happens is because the extra length of the vehicle here, where obviously you've got the rear bulkhead and everything, if you land it wrong, they can bend right along that crease by there, but you know, still, that's normally after a heavy impact or if you're sending it to the moon. Creighton arms, never really had an issue with those. They've been spot on. CVDs can be problematic, but there is a little tip for that. Again, eye above, as I mentioned earlier, there is a few setup tips I can give you on a video I've done. But overall, yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. Right, let's get the body back on and some arty-farty pictures and I'll see you up top. Right guys, welcome back. Okay, so funny how things go, isn't it? I went out looking for a fire team and yeah, ended up with a Big Rock. So not disappointed in the slightest on this one. And as you know, I am a big fan of the 6S ARRMAs. We've had enough of them on the channel, and I think for me, probably one of the better looking ones. Especially, I think it's still to this day, I love the Outcast Notorious. The Mojave is obviously one of my favourites, but the Big Rock is kind of, well, it's got that kind of scale look. It's not, I wouldn't call it like pro scale. It's not like it's sort of set out to be anything in particular, but it's definitely a good looking truck, this one. And that gunmetal colour I think is absolutely awesome. Plan is now, as I mentioned, I'm going to be doing a live stream. I probably will go through the diffs and set up a few things. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, guys, link in the eye above. There is a setup video for this truck. I've covered loads on this, with upgrades and setting the truck up. So I don't need to show you guys again, obviously, otherwise I'm just flogging a dead horse. But as far as upgrades goes, I think I probably will go into this one, but I'm going to do it from a different standpoint, I think. I think what I'm going to do is go looking for value upgrades on this one. So if I can find upgrades somewhere cheaply, there's going to give me the same kind of outcome, e.g. diff cases, that sort of thing. And that's what I'd like to do, because it's not sponsored by anyone. I've paid for this all with my own money. So it gives me an opportunity, essentially, instead of working with a company, going out and actually looking for parts and then making a decision further down the line. And hopefully you guys can take something from both videos away from it, whether you want to go down the route of some of the more expensive upgrades with like M2C. Now, I will say, the quality is obviously going to be better with a well-established companies, e.g. M2C, Vitavon. They spent a lot of time and effort and research and development into making those parts. Now, what you could also look at it from, though, is if we do go down the route with some cheaper parts, is the durability, value for money, and, you know, is it going to give you the same outcome, and for how long? I want to run this truck as stock as I can for as long as I can before I think, you know, and cave into the pressure of upgrading as well. Jump on one while you can. If you are interested in the bit of Big Rock at the moment, as I say, ARRMA have discontinued them. And, you know, now is the time to go out and look. Because, like I said, I went looking for the Fireteam. I thought I had the last one in the UK. And it turned out to be, well, it just wasn't available. There was no stock available. In all fairness to the shop, they did go looking for me, but they just couldn't get hold of one. So, yeah, discontinued truck now. Is it worth you picking one up? Probably. Maybe look around. On the head up to the holidays now. You might even see some Black Friday deals here and there. I hope you enjoyed all the videos on this truck. Like I say, please go and have a look. There's a playlist for them. I want to say a huge thank you for you guys obviously supporting all the videos and the channel and giving me likes, shares, and, you know, all the interaction and the comments. Honestly, guys, it means a lot to me. Very, very humbling to have you come along for the ride, and the channel is absolutely booming. And while we're on that subject, a huge portion of you are not subscribed to the channel. If you're not subscribed, guys, consider subscribing, because it costs you nothing and means the absolute world to me. Till next time, check the box for more videos. Stay awesome. I'll catch you later.